Akin froze. The entire interview room went silent. Across the long glass table in the tallest building on Victoria Island, the billionaire CEO slowly stood up. Her hands were shaking. His hands were shaking too. They stared at each other. Not like strangers, not like boss and applicant, like two people who had once shared the same tiny bedroom in a cramped house in Surulere. Ava's lips parted. Akin, she whispered. The name sounded like a secret that had been buried for years. Akin's throat felt dry. He had not heard that voice call his name like that since he was 10 years old. But that was impossible. The CEO of KIKY Global Holdings, the powerful, secretive billionaire no one had ever properly seen, could not be his sister, the sister who disappeared 13 years ago. The sister they were told had died. The room felt smaller. Sandra, the sharp-looking executive assistant, stepped forward nervously. Ma'am, should I end the interview? Ava did not answer. She kept staring at Akin. And then she said something that made everyone gasp. Close the doors. 3 days earlier, Akin had ironed his only Navy suit carefully. It was slightly tight at the shoulders, but he did not mind. He needed this job. Lagos was not kind to people who had dreams, but no connections. After finishing university, he had searched for work for 2 years. Every time the same answer. We will call you. They never called. Bibi, his childhood friend, had sent him the job opening late one night. Kiki Global is hiring junior project managers. Try it, Bibi had typed. Akin laughed when he saw it. Kiki Global? The billionaire company? They will not even look at my CV. Just try, Bibi insisted. So he tried. He did not know that KIKY Global was owned by a mysterious CEO who avoided cameras and interviews. People said she was young. People said she was strict. People said she had built the company from nothing. Her name was Ava Richards. That name meant nothing to him. Richards was not their surname, or at least it was not the surname he remembered. The morning of the interview, Akin stood outside the glass tower in Victoria Island. The building was tall and shiny, with guards in neat uniforms and cars that cost more than his entire street back home. He felt small. Sandra met him in the reception area. She smiled politely, but her eyes studied him carefully. You are Mr. Akin Adewale? Yes, ma'am. Please follow me. The CEO will see you personally. He blinked. The CEO? Personally? His heart began to beat faster. As they walked through the quiet hallway, he noticed something strange on the wall. A framed photograph. It was a charity event picture. The CEO stood at the center, slightly turned away from the camera. But Akin's steps slowed. That side profile. That tiny birthmark near her left ear. His breath stopped. No, it could not be. Sandra noticed he had stopped walking. Are you all right? He nodded quickly. I am fine. But he was not fine. Because that birthmark, his sister Ava had the same one. The sister who vanished the day their parents died in a fire accident. The sister who was taken away by distant relatives. The sister he never saw again. Sandra opened the conference room door. Ma'am, your 10 a.m. is here. Ava turned around, and their eyes met. The same eyes, the same shape. Not the same scar above her eyebrow from when they both fell while racing down their old street. Time froze. She stood up slowly. Akin, she whispered, and then she said, Close the doors. And the lock clicked behind them. The door locked with a soft click. Sandra hesitated for 1 second. Ma'am, should I stay? Ava's eyes never left Akin's face. No, no one enters. No calls. Sandra nodded and stepped out. The glass walls turned opaque at the press of a button. Now it was just the two of them. Silence filled the room. Akin swallowed hard. I am sorry, ma'am. If I said something wrong, stop, Ava said gently. Her voice was not the powerful CEO voice people spoke about online. It was softer, familiar. When was the last time you saw me, she asked. The question hit him like a heavy stone. 13 years ago, he replied slowly. Yeah, the night after the funeral. Ava's fingers trembled slightly against the table. You remember? How can I forget, Akin said, his voice breaking despite his effort to stay calm. They told me you were going to stay with Uncle Tundi. The next week, they said you had passed away. No one explained anything. Ava closed her eyes briefly. I did not die. I can see that, Aiken said, almost in disbelief. A small, sad smile touched her lips. For a moment, the room felt like their old house in Sur-L'air, the paint peeling, the small kitchen, the laughter they shared before everything fell apart. But then reality rushed back. You are Ava Richards, Aiken said slowly. The billionaire. She nodded once. Yes. How? That single word carried years of pain and confusion. When Ava walked toward the window and stared down at the busy Lagos traffic below, I was not sent to Uncle Tundi, she said quietly. After the accident, I was taken by a family friend. They changed my surname. They said it was for protection. Protection from who? Ava turned back to him. From the truth. A keen frown. What truth? She hesitated, and that hesitation was louder than anything she had said so far. Before she could answer, the door suddenly buzzed. Sandra's voice came through the intercom. Ma'am, Mr. Femi is here unexpectedly. He says it is urgent. Ava's face changed instantly. The softness disappeared. Her posture straightened. Tell him I am busy. He insists, ma'am. Ava looked at Akin again. There was something sharp in her eyes now. Something protective. Something worried. Give me 5 minutes, she told Sandra. Yes, ma'am. The intercom went silent. Akin noticed the tension in her shoulders. Who is Mr. Femi? He asked carefully. Ava did not answer immediately. He is one of our board members, she said at last. He does not like surprises. And I am a surprise? You are more than that, she replied. Before Akin could ask what she meant, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He almost ignored it, but something made him check. It was a message from Bibi. Bro, are you inside the building already? Leave now. Something is not right about that company. Aiken's heart skipped. He looked up at Ava. She was already staring at his phone screen, and the expression on her face told him one thing. She already knew something he did not, and whatever it was dangerous. Akin slowly lowered his phone. Why would Bibi tell me to leave? He asked quietly. Ava did not look surprised. She looked tired. Because he cares about you, she said, and because he might have seen something he should not have seen. Aiken frowned. Seen what? Before she could answer, there was a firm knock on the door. Not a polite one, a demanding one. Ava's jaw tightened. Come in, she said calmly. The glass walls turned clear again. A tall man in a dark suit walked in without waiting for permission. His name tag read, Femi Cole, Executive Director. He did not smile. He did not greet. His sharp eyes moved from Ava to Akin. And who is this? He asked. A candidate, Ava replied smoothly. We are finishing an interview. Mr. Femi gave a small laugh. You do not usually interview candidates yourself. I do when I see potential. Aiken felt like he was standing in the middle of a chess game he did not understand. Mr. Femi stepped closer to the table. His voice was calm, but his words were heavy. I hope this candidate does not have family ties. The air in the room changed. Ava did not blink. No, she said firmly. Aiken's chest tightened at that single word. No. Mr. Femi stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Good, because as you know, transparency is important. Investors are already asking questions. What kind of questions? Ava asked. About the company's origins, he replied. About the property acquisition 13 years ago. Akin felt something cold run down his spine. 13 years ago. That was the year their parents died. Mr. Femi turned toward him again. Young man, why do you want to work here? A simple question, but it felt like a trap. Akin straightened his shoulders. Because I want to build something that matters, he said honestly. And because I believe hard work should count. Mr. Femi studied him carefully. You look familiar, he said slowly. Ava's hand tightened slightly on the edge of the table. Many people look alike in Lagos, she replied lightly, but Akin saw the tension in her eyes. Mr. Femi gave a thin smile. Of course. He turned toward the door. Be careful, Ava, he added softly. Secrets have a way of walking into the room when we least expect them. And then he left. The door closed. Silence again. Akin looked at Ava. What property acquisition? He asked. She hesitated. Then she walked to a drawer in the cabinet behind her desk and pulled out a thin file. She placed it on the table. This, she said quietly, is why I had to disappear. Akin's hands felt heavy as he opened the file. Inside was a copy of an old land document. The address printed at the top made his heart stop. It was their childhood home. Underneath it, in bold letters, was the name of the new owner. Femi Cole. Akin looked up slowly. That house burned down, he whispered. Ava's eyes darkened. Yes, she said. And it was not an accident. Before Akin could speak again, the lights in the conference room suddenly flickered, and the screen at the far end of the room turned on by itself. A video began to play. It showed an old recording, a man arguing loudly inside their childhood living room. The date stamp read, 13 years ago, and the man shouting on the screen was Mr. F. The video played without sound for a few seconds. Akin could see everything clearly. In the old brown sofa, the cracked wall paint, the small wooden shelf their father built himself. It was their house, their real house. His chest felt tight. Turn up the volume, he whispered. Ava pressed a button. The sound came alive. Mr. Femi's voice filled the room. You signed the document, he shouted at someone off camera. You agreed to sell the land. Their father's voice answered, shaking but firm. I agreed to a partnership, not a takeover. This house is my children's future. Akin's heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. The camera angle shifted slightly. It must have been a hidden security camera. Mr. Femi stepped closer to their father. You do not understand business, he said coldly. This land will become something bigger than your tiny dreams. Our children matter more than your money, their father shouted. The screen suddenly cut to black. The timestamp jumped forward 2 hours. Smoke filled the camera view. Flames flashed across the living room. Ava quickly stopped the video. The room fell silent again. Akin could not breathe properly. He did this, he said slowly. Not as a question, as a fact. Ava nodded once. I found this recording 5 years ago, she said. The family friend who took me in worked for the old security company that installed that camera. Why did they take you away? Akin asked, his voice shaking. Because I heard part of that argument, Ava replied quietly. I was hiding near the stairs. Mr. Femi saw me before he left. Akin's stomach dropped. He knew you were a witness. Yes. And they told me you died, Akin whispered. Ava's eyes softened. They needed you to believe it. If he thought I was gone, he would stop looking. Akin walked away from the table and ran his hand through his hair. So all these years, you built this company with him? I did not know he would become part of the board, she said. When I started Kiki Global, I used investors recommended by others. His name came later. By then, he had already bought shares quietly. Akin turned to her sharply. Why did you not expose him? Because I needed proof strong enough to win, she answered. And because he is powerful, he has friends in high places. As if called by her words, Ava's phone buzzed on the table. She looked at the screen. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Yes? A slow, calm voice came through the speaker. You should not have played that recording, Ava. Her face went pale. Akin stepped closer. When it is dangerous to dig up old memories, the voice continued, especially when your little brother is inside the building. Akin's blood ran cold. How do you know he is here? Ava demanded. The voice laughed softly. There are cameras everywhere. The call ended. Akin felt like the floor had shifted under him. He is watching us, he said. Ava looked at the ceiling, at the corners of the room. For the first time since they reunited, she looked afraid. Then the conference room door handle began to turn. Slowly, someone was trying to come in, and this time, the lock did not hold. The door pushed open. Mr. Femi stepped inside, but this time he was not smiling. Behind him stood 2 security officers. Akin's heart pounded so loudly he felt it in his throat. Ava did not move. End this drama, Mr. Femi said calmly. Delete the video. We can all walk away peacefully. Peacefully, Ava repeated. You are young. You built something impressive. Do not destroy it over old emotions. Old emotions? Aiken stepped forward. You burned our home. Mr. Femi's eyes snapped toward him. So she told you. She did not need to, Aiken replied. We saw it. Mr. Femi sighed as if tired of children arguing. You saw an argument, he corrected. You saw smoke. That is not proof of arson. Ava walked toward the large screen and pressed a button. The video returned, but this time she did not stop at the flames. She fast-forwarded. Another clip appeared. It showed Mr. Femi outside the house on the phone. His voice was clear. Make sure it looks accidental. I want no loose ends. The room went silent. Even the security officers looked uneasy. Mr. Femi's face hardened. You think that will save you? He said quietly. It will save the truth, Ava replied. You will lose investors. I would rather lose money than lose my parents twice. Aiken looked at his sister with pride. For 13 years he had believed she was gone, but she had been fighting the whole time. Mr. Femi took a step forward. You are forgetting something, he said. I still control part of this company. Not anymore, Ava replied. She tapped her tablet. The conference room doors opened again, but this time it was not his men. It was officers from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Sandra stood behind them, holding a folder. Ma'am, she said firmly, the documents have been submitted. Mr. Femi's confident posture finally cracked. You planned this, he whispered. Ava nodded. I called them before the interview began. I knew today would come. The officers approached him. You are under arrest for financial fraud, conspiracy, and suspected arson, one officer said. The security guard stepped aside. Aiken watched as the powerful man who had controlled their lives for years was escorted out of the room. For the first time, the air felt light. Silence filled the space again. But this silence was different. It was free. Aiken turned to Ava. So, what happens now? Ava looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled softly. Now, she said, we rebuild what was stolen. She picked up his CV from the table. You still want the job? Aiken blinked. You are serious? You are qualified, she replied, and I trust you. He let out a shaky laugh. I came here hoping for an interview. You got one, she said. Hashin more. She walked toward him and pulled him into a careful hug. For a moment, they were no longer billionaire CEO and job applicant. They were just brother and sister, two children from Surulere who had survived something terrible. Outside the glass walls, Lagos traffic moved as usual. Life continued. But inside that room, a broken family had finally found its way back together. And this time, no one would separate them again. Thanks for watching. What's your view about this story? Where are you watching from? Do well to let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.